It was the kind of morning that began like any other, until it wasn't. The door chime at Maple and Main Diner rang at exactly 8:03 a.m., a sound waitress Tiana Brooks had heard every single day for the last 5 years. But this time, something felt different. The usual smell of bacon and fresh coffee hung in the air, but the energy in the diner suddenly shifted, so quietly that even the old radio in the corner seemed to stop playing. 4 men in sharp black suits entered, their presence so heavy that every conversation in the diner died mid-sentence. Behind them, a silver-haired man with piercing blue eyes walked in, carrying a sleek leather briefcase. His posture was firm, his steps measured. Every eye followed them as they crossed the linoleum floor straight toward the counter, straight toward Tiana. "Are you Miss Tiana Brooks?" the man asked, his voice crisp but not unkind. Tiana froze. She'd been serving pancakes and wiping tables since sunrise, and now 5 men in suits were asking for her like she'd committed a crime. Yes," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm Mr. Cole, legal representative for the Henderson family. We need to speak with you privately." At the mention of that name, Tiana's chest tightened. Mr. Charles Henderson, the quiet old man who'd sat in booth 6 every morning for nearly 2 years, came to mind. He always ordered black coffee and oatmeal. He'd smile gently, tip exactly $3, and call her kiddo. Is this about Mr. Henderson?" she asked softly. Mr. Cole nodded gravely. "Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry to inform you. Mr. Henderson passed away last night." The words hit her like ice water. The old man who told her stories about his late wife and the son who never visited, gone. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears pricking her eyes. He was really kind." Mr. Cole hesitated for a moment before continuing. "Mr. Henderson left very specific instructions regarding you. I need you to come with me to the Henderson law offices." Tiana blinked, confused. "Wait, what? Why me?" He gave a small, knowing smile. "Because he said you're the only one who ever saw him as a person, not a paycheck." The diner fell silent again. Her boss, Marty, peeked from behind the counter, looking just as lost. "Tiana, you okay? You didn't do anything wrong, did you?" "No," Mr. Cole said. "She did everything right." As Tiana untied her apron and followed them outside, she had no idea that the next few hours would drag her into a storm of secrets, greed, and revenge. One that would shatter the illusion of wealth and privilege forever. The Henderson Law Office occupied the top floors of a glass tower in downtown Boston. Everything screamed power. Polished marble floors, abstract art, and the kind of silence that only the rich could afford. When Tiana entered the conference room, 3 people were already waiting. At the head of the table sat Margaret Henderson, Charles's daughter, a woman with diamond earrings, perfect posture, and a face that had never known a day of struggle. Beside her was her son, Ethan, a man in his 30s, wearing a tailored navy suit and an expression of pure arrogance. Across from them, scrolling through her phone, sat Chloe, Ethan's influencer wife. Margaret didn't even look up when Tiana walked in. Ethan smirked. "This must be her?" "Yes," said Mr. Cole. "Please, have a seat, Miss Brooks." Tiana sat at the far end of the table, feeling like she didn't belong in that room, or in their world. Mr. Cole opened a thick folder. "Mr. Charles Henderson's will be signed 4 months ago. He was fully conscious and of sound mind. His assets include the Henderson Hospitality Group, a restaurant chain with 53 locations nationwide, several properties, and various financial holdings." Margaret's painted lips curved slightly upward. She looked at her son with smug satisfaction. "First," Mr. Cole continued, "the residential properties and family trust, worth a total of $57 million, go to Mrs. Margaret Henderson and her son Ethan." Margaret nodded, almost bored. "However," he went on, his tone shifting. The ownership of the Henderson Hospitality Group, including all 53 restaurants, the corporate offices, and associated assets, is hereby transferred to Miss Tiana Brooks. The room went silent. Margaret's smile froze. Ethan's mouth fell open. Chloe actually dropped her phone. I'm sorry, Margaret stammered. Who? Mr. Cole looked straight at her. Miss Tiana Brooks, the waitress your father saw every morning for 2 years. This is absurd, Margaret snapped. She's a waitress. Mr. Cole adjusted his glasses. She's also the only person your father trusted in the last years of his life. This is insane, Ethan barked, slamming his hand on the table. She manipulated him. For the record, Mr. Cole said evenly, Mr. Henderson documented every interaction with Miss Brooks. He even had private investigators verify her character. This will is legally airtight. Tiana sat frozen as Mr. Cole slid an envelope toward her. There's also a personal letter. Her hands trembled as she opened it. My dear Tiana, if you're reading this, I've finally gone to join my wife. For 2 years, you reminded me what kindness feels like. You never treated me as a burden, never saw me as a bank account. You didn't know that I owned the diner you worked in, or that I watched how you handled people who treated you unfairly. When you paid for that veteran's breakfast, when you stood up for that young dishwasher everyone mocked, you showed me that real dignity doesn't wear a price tag. I built my business on the belief that people matter more than profits. My family forgot that. You didn't. The restaurants are yours now. Use them to prove that heart can build an empire stronger than greed ever could. Tiana couldn't breathe. Tears blurred her vision. Margaret stood abruptly. We'll contest this. We'll bury her in court. You're welcome to try, Mr. Cole said coolly. Mr. Henderson anticipated that. He left video documentation, financial audits, and signed statements. Any attempt to challenge this will void your inheritance entirely. Ethan glared at Tiana, seething. You have no idea what you're getting into. You won't last a week. Tiana finally met his eyes. We'll see. The following weeks were hell. Tiana, once a diner waitress, now sat in boardrooms, surrounded by men who looked at her like she didn't belong. Ethan made sure every meeting was a trap, every spreadsheet a setup. Rumors spread that she was just a charity case, that she'd crumble under pressure. But what they didn't know was that Tiana had spent every night studying, hours with spreadsheets, reports, and training manuals. And she wasn't alone. Her unexpected ally came in the form of Grace Lynn, the company's chief financial officer. A quiet, brilliant woman who had been overlooked for promotions for years because she didn't fit the image. I thought you'd be gone in a week, Grace admitted one evening. I thought so too, Tiana smiled. But I can't let him win. Then you'll need to see this, Grace said, sliding a flash drive across the desk. You're not just being sabotaged. They're stealing. Tiana opened the files, and her blood ran cold. Ethan had been transferring funds through dummy suppliers, inflating costs, and secretly preparing to sell the company to private investors for a fraction of its value. Mr. Henderson knew, Grace said quietly. He started investigating before he died. Tiana realized then, Charles hadn't just left her a company. He'd left her unfinished business. 2 weeks later, in the same executive lounge where Ethan had once humiliated her, Tiana walked in, wearing a fitted navy suit and calm confidence. The air was electric. Ethan sat, surrounded by investors, smirking. Ah, Miss Brooks, come to witness how real business is done.
Tiana placed her briefcase on the table. Actually, I came to run it. The investors chuckled politely. Before we discuss your offer, she continued, I think it's fair you know the kind of company you're buying. Ethan rolled his eyes. Here we go. Grace connected her laptop to the projector. Within seconds, the screen filled with bank records, emails, and transfers, all leading back to Ethan. Over $2 million, Tiana said evenly. Diverted from Henderson hospitality accounts to offshore holdings. Funds falsified under your signature. Ethan's face turned white. That's fake. Mr. Cole entered the room then, carrying a box. It's not fake, Mr. Henderson. Your grandfather recorded everything. The first video played, Ethan's voice, clear as day. Cut costs. Fire the older staff. We need bad numbers so we can justify selling the chain. Once it's ours again, we'll rebuild under a new name. The room went still. Then Margaret's voice filled the speakers. No one will believe that Waitress can run a company. She's good for cleaning tables, not boardrooms. Silence fell like a hammer. Ethan tried to stand. This is illegal. It's admissible, Mr. Cole said calmly. All recorded on Mr. Henderson's private property. The investors exchanged uneasy looks. One of them, a tall man named Mr. Harris, turned to Tiana. Miss Brooks, if this is true, this company is more valuable than we realized. And it's in good hands. Tiana nodded. That's correct, which is why I'm not selling. Ethan stared at her, disbelief and fury mixing on his face. In fact, she continued, her tone ice cold, I'm buying you out. $5 million for your shares, before the IRS, the FBI, and the press get the evidence I'm holding. Margaret's face drained of color. You wouldn't dare. I already did, Tiana said softly. The story breaks tomorrow. Ethan slammed his fist on the table. You ruined us. Tiana met his gaze, calm and unshaken. No, Ethan, you ruined yourselves the day you decided kindness was weakness. 6 months later, Tiana Brooks was on the cover of Forbes magazine. From waitress to CEO, how integrity rebuilt an empire. Under her leadership, Henderson Hospitality became one of the fastest-growing restaurant chains in the U.S., known for fair wages, equal opportunity, and community initiatives. Ethan worked as an assistant manager at a car dealership, still blaming everyone but himself. Margaret lived in a condo, half the size of her former estate. Her name a quiet embarrassment in Boston's elite circles. At the grand opening of the company's new flagship restaurant, Tiana stood beside a framed photo of Charles Henderson. She placed a hand over her heart. Thank you, she whispered, for seeing me when no one else did. Grace smiled beside her. He'd be proud. Tiana looked out at the bustling restaurant. Diverse faces, warm laughter, a place built on respect. The best revenge, she said softly, isn't destroying the people who doubted you. It's building something so great, they have to live knowing they tried to stop it. And in that moment, surrounded by the sound of clinking glasses and celebration, Tiana Brooks finally understood what true power felt like. Not wealth, not control, but dignity.